Hey, it's your pal Mike Shea from the website Sly Flourish and author of the books The Lazy Dungeon Master and Sly Flourish's Fantastic Locations. I'm going to be hosting a brand new show on the Don't Split the Podcast network called the DM's Deep Dive. Each month, I'll be talking to a member of the D&D community about a particular topic of the game like encounter design, tools for improvisation, and game pacing. You can subscribe to the show through iTunes, on Twitch, or on YouTube. Join me, and we'll all work together to make our games fantastic.
This is Tabletop Babble. I'm James Introcaso. Today on the show, we have an amazing interview with the gentlemen who run the online convention AetherCon. We are going to talk all about what an online game convention actually is, how to run your own, and what makes them so awesome. Hint, you don't have to wear pants. All right, let's jump right into my discussion with them. Okay, everyone, now I am here with Chris, Justin, and Stephen. We are talking about AetherCon, and I am so very excited to get down with some people who work one of the greatest online conventions around. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is an online convention, what the heck is this thing, AetherCon, and get into it so that our listenership can sort of expand their opportunities convention-wise. I'm really, really excited. But before we get to that, why don't we go around the table and have everybody introduce themselves, say who they are, and what they do in the world of tabletop role-playing games. Stephen, let's start with you.
My name is Stephen Holodinsky. I'm the event coordinator for AetherCon. I'm a very long-time gamer who took a 10-year sabbatical from gaming to tour Europe for 10 years in the 90s, and I've been back since just before the turn of the century. I also do some game design in regards to board/card games. Nothing published yet, but we've got a group of folks together called the Blue Bugbear Collective that we play test stuff with. I'm not as heavily involved in the gaming industry as probably these other two gentlemen you're going to talk to next.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I am super glad to have you here on the show. And why don't we turn now to Justin. Justin, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
Hi, I'm Justin Andrew Mason, and I am a little bit of everything, actually. I am an author, game developer, game designer, cartographer, graphic design, layout, and webmaster of the AetherCon convention.
And why don't you tell the people out there what just happened for you? Because I'm sure many have heard of the recent project you, well, I guess you could say are wrapping up in some ways, but are also just beginning in others.
Right. I just ran a Kickstarter, a successful Kickstarter for the Big Book of Maps for tabletop role-playing games. Literally a big book of maps, almost 200 of them. We funded with almost 1,000 backers, so I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Well, it is super, super great to have you here on Tabletop Babble. And now let's turn to Chris. Chris, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop RPGs?
Well, hello. My name is Chris Malidore. I am an illustrator. Kind of got my start with gaming in my teenage years there with Dungeons & Dragons and Warhammer and all that stuff. And it sort of put me down my path. So now I've been illustrating for, I think we're on year 14 now.
Well, if I can, I'd like to interject on Chris's bio there. He left out the word awesome when he said what he does. He's amazing.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm pretty sure everybody is awesome who is gathered around today, and that is why I want to talk to you guys. We've mentioned AetherCon. It's an online convention, but I think this idea of online conventions is pretty new still, especially for a lot of our listeners. So, what is an online convention? How do people attend an online convention? How does the whole thing work? Give me a general overview. What can I expect that would be similar to an in-person convention? And obviously, let's use AetherCon as the example.
Basically, an online convention, the reason these things are out there, I guess, is because there are folks out there who cannot get to on-the-ground conventions for a few different reasons. But the two main ones being there simply isn't one where they are. You'll find that while the North American convention scene is incredibly huge, I mean, they're all over the place. You will find that when you get overseas, not so much. That can be problematic if you want to see a convention or attend one, take part in one. There's just not that many. And the second reason is, let's face it, cash is always a factor in these things. Many times you have to travel, that costs money. You have to stay somewhere, that costs money. You have to eat something, that costs money. Those are only the ancillary costs. Then you have to buy your ticket in. Then you have to pay for whatever events you're going to go into. So you have all of these costs associated with going to a real life convention that are not there when you go to an online convention. And that makes it much cheaper and eminently more attendable, if that's a word. So far as AetherCon is concerned, you just basically go to our site. And then from there, you will be able to hive off into whatever different activity you'd like to go into, whether it be watching speed painting duels, which is something that Chris is heavily involved in, or going to see some of the Q&As or themed panels, or playing in a game, or voting in the miniature painting tourney, or on the speed paint duels. Again, that's, people who attend can vote on these things, and there's prizes to be had for voting. It's a cool thing, It's not that hard to take part in these things.
So when you say money is a factor for some people and travel is a factor for some people, I definitely agree. And I think online conventions are great for that. And I think it's even great if you can go to in-person conventions because you have one close to you or you have the financial means to travel. You can also get extra convention time in with an online convention, which is something that I love too. I go to some conventions throughout the year, but it gives you a chance to get to a convention without having to pack your bags, without the hassle, without the whole thing. And like you said, you just click around and you can be wherever you want to be, which is pretty awesome, right? And you've got panels, you've got competitions, you've got all kinds of people talking about great games, which I think is really, really incredible. It really does feel like a convention.
And it's not just the attendees. Mm-hmm. It's also the guests. Okay, for example, just take Chaosium as an example. Mike Mason lives in Great Britain. Michael O'Brien lives in Australia. Okay, so it's not going to be, sure, they will come over to North America for a Gen Con or one of the real big ones, but they're not going to come over here for every convention. So if you're not able to get to a Gen Con or an Origins or a PAX Seattle, and you're a real big Chaosium fan, well, we've had these guys for the last, I don't know how many years, because it's very easy for them to get to us. They don't have to fly anywhere. David Michael Wright is a fantastic artist. He's been in our Artist Enclave for a number of years. He's also from Great Britain. And on it goes. And if you're over in the UK, well, all these people, they probably won't fly to the UK for every convention that they have over there, but you can see them, talk to them, what have you, by going to Aether.
That is really, really true, right? It's not just the attendees. You get a better sort of quality of person coming to present at the convention when they don't have to get on a plane or travel really far or spend a lot of money to get there. And you do get a lot of big names at these online conventions, especially AetherCon, which I think is great. And it sort of brings me to my next point. I think, again, the idea of an online convention is new for a lot of people, but AetherCon just had its 5th convention. It's been going for 5 years. Clearly a 6th is coming up. So have you seen growth in your attendance and in the number of things you're doing? Do people seem to like this idea of an online convention?
I'm going to turn that one over to Justin.
Oh, okay. That works. Yeah, actually, we've seen quite a bit of growth. As far as number of users, we've had about a 33% increase this past year. Our total number of sessions went up almost 70%, showing the interactivity that people are utilizing at the convention.
So you're really seeing then some growth, and I know that Stephen shared the analytics report with me just to see the bump from 2015 to 2016. Not only are you seeing more users, people are spending more time on the site, so more time really at the convention itself, which is pretty awesome, and more time going to more things, attending more events at this convention?
The increase that we had in users was tremendous. In 2015, we actually had 2,579 attendees. In 2016, that went up to 3,440. So that's a pretty sizable increase.
That's really, really great, and shows good growth, because I feel like I hear more about AetherCon every single year, and I hear more about online conventions in general. Right, Roll20 through their own online convention, so I feel like you're hearing more and more about that. What other big spikes have you seen?
Chris, you've got. You've seen some pretty steady growth in the Wandering Toad. Why don't you take a stab at that?
My function on AetherCon weekend is usually overseeing the speed painting duels. We have a collection of artists. In recent years, it's been 2 or 3 artists going kind of at this for about an hour on the random topic. They would have their best chance to do the best picture they can in that time. We've had not only more artists coming to us with interest, but I'm witnessing a huge increase in our audience watching as well, and it's been really a pleasure to know that people are getting something out of that. We've got art directors hanging out with us. We've got artists, just chatting.
What the heck is a speed painting duel?
Well, essentially what we do is we have art directors sort of moderating this process. They get to pick their topic off of a bit of a list that we've accumulated for them, just to keep things even. These artists have 45 minutes to an hour or so, depending on scheduling, and best picture wins. It gets voted on at the end of the day, and ultimately, it's, while being a challenge, it's just a fun time.
It sounds like an awesome thing to watch. So you've also got sort of some unique things going on, I think, like other conventions do. It's not just people talking about the next big game they're going to put out, or tips on how to be a great DM, right? There's all kinds of awesome stuff to talk about. We talked a little bit about the speed painting duels, but let's also talk about the Artist Enclave and the Here Be Monsters, and let's talk about how those work.
Well, basically, the Artist Enclave, despite having an AetherCon weekend, we're kind of running year-round on trying to get marketing capabilities out of all this artistry that we have around us. Now, we basically, once our convention ends, I'm starting to roll into getting people ready for doing some promotional wallpapers for the following year, because it does take time to make those. That's kind of the first function of the Artist Enclave. This year we have 14 artists doing wallpapers. We'll be unveiling them through the summer. Outside of that, we have Here Be Monsters, which is basically a bit of a voting process with some fun little art functions. We have a map and we have monsters, and then our audience can vote on sort of where these monsters dwell on this map. And it's just been a fun way of getting interaction on the website at kind of towards the beginning of the website coming out. I think this is our first year doing Europe. I don't know. It's simple. It's fun. It just kind of gets the water started.
So this is the first year that we're going to be on Pinterest. And so Pinterest has got a bit of a rotation in and of itself. I mean, right now we're going through what I would call a Hall of Fame. Basically, we're putting out all the wallpapers of the artists that we've had in the past that are going to be with us this year. Okay, so you're seeing some wallpapers you've never seen before or haven't seen in a while. Like, for example, Jeremy McHugh. He did one for us, I believe, in AetherCon 2. He is back with us this year. So you'll see that wallpaper you haven't seen in a while from AetherCon 2 because he wasn't in last year's Artist Enclave. So you're not seeing it. And it was a brilliant wallpaper.
It really was a good one. And it's been really fun being able to dust off those and revisit a bit.
Yeah. Anton Magdalena is another one. He was there for AetherCon 1. He's back again. And I also have to give a shout out to Justin for doing the map for Here Be Monsters. Because, hey, I mean, that's kind of one of the 18 dozen things he does is make maps. And I also have to credit Chris Malidore and one of our newer artists, Adam Schmidt, for doing the monster sketches for that. Adam joined us last year, this first wallpaper. He'll be doing another one this year. And something else I should mention is we're almost done with the Hall of Fame. And in between that and the opening of the website, we will be rolling out works in progress. So these 14 artists who are doing these wallpapers, They'll also be giving us like a sketch. Here's where I'm going with this subject matter. And you'll be seeing that on Pinterest. You'll also be seeing that on our main site and on all our other social media platforms. Yeah, Here Be Monsters starts the 10th of April, and the works in progress start the 16th of May.
It's interesting because it sounds like you have a easier time interacting with the people who are attending these panels in ways that would be harder at an in-person convention. You know, like you can very quickly tally votes as opposed to like passing out paper or counting numbers of hands that are raised or that sort of thing to do something like Here Be Monsters or the Artist Enclave, which sounds really, really fun and interesting. So in addition to that, and the fact that I don't have to wear pants when attending this convention, which is a big plus for me, what are some things you think that make an online convention better than maybe attending an in-person convention?
I would say different more than better. I think both things have their merits. The one or two ways I can see where that it will be advantageous is the fact that you can attend it from anywhere, both as an attendee and as a guest. And the fact that there are no costs involved. By no means were we the first online RPG convention. There was another one that was out there about a decade ago, and there were two things. There were two hills that it died on, and one was money, and the other one was technology. They wanted money to run this, and no one was going to do that. And basically, their VTTs were all installs. Everything was an install, and I mean, if you're good with that kind of stuff, if you've got that kind of a background, that's not a problem. Vast majority of gamers don't have that background. And so they get to an install. If it doesn't go right the first time, they're frustrated. If it doesn't go right the second time, they say, the hell with this. I'm just going to go down to my local game store and play a game. Right? I'm not going to bother with this anymore. And that's kind of the reason why at AetherCon 1, it's a completely free event. No one pays anything, not even the vendors. The vendors don't pay a dime to get into the vendors hall. They need to run a game. That's what we want from them. And secondly, all of the technology is browser-based, with the exception of Skype, which comes on every bloody computer anyway, so you don't need to install it. But everything else, Roll20, browser-based. Google Hangouts, or I'm going to guess whatever replaces Google Hangouts in a day or two, is going to be browser-based. Discord is browser-based. You know, Roll20 is another way we do audio. Again, browser-based. Everything is browser-based, so it makes it very easy.
I think, in my opinion, one of the major advantages is the kind of leisurely aspect. I know when I go to Gen Con, I book my schedule to the max, and I am constantly running and rushing to meet start times and finish times and get out to all my different events. Well, when you're doing it on an online convention, you just are 2 clicks away from any location. So you can kind of move at a more leisurely pace. You don't have to be rushed. You don't have to worry about, can you make it to something on time? And that makes a big difference for me.
This is true. You are not constantly dodging cosplay barbarians with massive axes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that is a great reason. I've been at Gen Con, and it's like, oh, I did these things back to back. Oh, look, they're on opposite sides of the convention center. Well, that's not going to work. And yeah, they are. They're very different. I think each has their merits, right? I'm not here to put down an in-person convention. I love a good in-person convention. I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this episode, who is, you guessed it, Audible.com. Audible is giving the listeners of Don't Split the Podcast Network a free audiobook and 30-day trial for their service. One book I think you might like is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by the one and only J.K. Rowling, along with a young man named Newt Scamander. The narrator is Eddie Redmayne. This book is about an hour and 40 minutes long. Check it out. Of course, if you want to get another book, there are thousands to choose from. So go ahead and do that over at audibletrial.com/DSPN. That's audibletrial.com/DSPN. For people out there who are considering attending an online convention, what sort of advice do you have for first-time attendees at an online convention? And similarly, what about folks who are presenting at an online convention?
The technology is all browser based. So you basically go to the website, you look at what's available. We have an event registration system. You can go through, you can search it, you can look for specific events, whether it be a game table, whether it be a panel or a Q&A session with game developers. All those things can be found really easy through the website. And if you want to attend, you just click a button.
You can also search by company name. Like if you want to see what's FASA doing this weekend, so you type FASA into the thing, and okay, well, here's the games are running, these are the panels are on, there's their Q&A, it's all listed right there.
Nice.
Right? So, if those are the people you want to see, well, Bob's your uncle.
Who made this awesome website, by the way?
That would be me, Justin.
And this is like a legit custom built from scratch website, right?
Yeah, it's all coded from the ground up, including the back end. AetherCon, being an online convention, had some very specific needs that a WordPress site with plugins just wasn't going to cover properly. Mm-hmm. So after AetherCon 3, we went to the drawing board and built a framework to move forward with, and we've kind of added on that every year since. It functions the way that we need it, but we're constantly trying to improve it. We vastly underestimated how much the traffic was going to grow from one year to the next. So we did have a little bit of bottlenecking at peak hours last year. So the streamlining that we're putting into it this year is to try to prevent that.
So how can people get involved in AetherCon if they want to get involved? If they are a game designer or some sort of gaming expert or somebody who wants to do more than attend, maybe volunteer their time in some way, how do people get involved with AetherCon?
Well, I'm kind of like the clearinghouse for information. Email me, Stephen at aethercon.com. I'll spell that out. STEPHEN, like Catholic spell it. At AETHERCON.com. And then usually when people email me, I'll say, okay, you need to talk to X or you need to talk to Y. We have folks involved in different aspects of the various team coordinators. Ed Clower is our prize support wrangler. He's a great guy. Justin Ginn's our coder. Pete Bryant is actually the tech coordinator. So, and it just goes on and on. I mean, Jennifer Felix is our Anvil Alley coordinator. Got a pretty good graphics team and a pretty good Festal team. Festal being the Q&As and the themed panels, as well as a Summer Roundtable series, which is something I have not spoke to. Summer Roundtable series, again, like the wallpaper releases, are a series of 9 different roundtables. Basically, we go with a company per roundtable. But it's not. I mean, it's not so much product pushes. Like, how did they get there? And wacky gaming stories. So basically, just being goofy for about 60 to 80 minutes. And we have 9 of these. This is our second year doing the full 9. All that falls under the fest.
I think people highly underestimate the amount of people you need to run this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, people see the weekend event, but we have senior staff basically ranking into like numbers of about 10 people, and they have people that work for them. You're looking at a lot more people than you would expect, and we're still short-staffed.
Sure.
For all the things we want to do. It's an enormous amount of work. We can always use help, and I hope more people would show interest and maybe want to get involved, because the more people we have, the more we can do for AetherCon weekend as well.
He hit it right on the head. We are always looking for more help. We like folks that have a skill set, but I will say this. I think we prize reliability over and above all. When someone new comes in, I give them the same speech. I say, we only ask one thing. If you say it, do it. And if they say, look, I can't do that, well, that's fine. At least you're telling us that up front. We'd rather hear you say that up front. Say, look, I can't do this. Say, okay, that's fine. Because if we have to wait 2 months before we find out that you can't or didn't, that's 2 months of work that then someone has to cover. That's usually me. and then I have to go out and recruit your replacement at the same time.
I'd like to bring up, also, if you don't mind, the one thing that I have really seen as an advantage participating in AetherCon has been the number of people and the type of people that I've met. I've made a lot of industry connections and I've made a lot of friends. And that has made all the time and effort that I've put into web development and everything else really worthwhile. Because those connections aren't just for the convention; those stick around. And I've worked with projects on people that I've met at AetherCon.
I can actually relate one story that I know for certain. Will O'Brien came on AetherCon 1 and did a wallpaper for us. And at that time, he was not in gaming art whatsoever. I found him on Epilogue and I sent him an email. I said, okay, sure, I'll do that. He has picked up a couple of different gigs, but the big thing is Paizo has hired him as one of their regular artists. He appears in a good number of adventure paths.
Wow.
And that's kind of hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
And we're really proud of him and we're happy that he's found that.
That is awesome. Should we mention the media exposure document here?
Participation by vendors or any game companies who participate with AetherCon actually contribute towards having a participation tier. The more they contribute, the higher up on this tier goes. The top tier down to the lower tier actually determines how frequently their banner ads show up on the site and how frequently their featured items from the dealer's hall show up on the individual pages. We have four of those tiers based on last year's numbers. And if we increase again, these numbers will go up. Based on last year's number, for example, the tier 1 participation, just a subjective estimate based on boosting a Facebook ad, the targeted audience that they reach comes into a value of about $2,200. So it's got some real advertising power behind it because it takes their product and their company and presents it directly to their target audience.
You start getting in there for tier 4, which is at the bottom end. You do prize support. You're gonna make money for your prize support. That's not even running a game. When you're talking tier 1, you're talking game, maybe a couple different prize support packages, or maybe 2 games, a panel or a Q&A, those kinds of things. Once you get up in there, your time is well worth what you're investing in it.
I think that there are a lot of great opportunities for people to get involved. It sounds like you guys are super open and great partners to work with, and you're on the forefront of this online convention scene, which I think is great. And it brings awareness about gaming to a community at large. This is a great way to see it. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of time. You could watch it in the background during work if you wanted to. So
if your boss didn't know.
That's right. And these guys aren't condoning that. I am. So let's get down to it. Let's plug AetherCon specifically. When is it? And how do people go to it?
AetherCon 6 will be taking place Friday, November 10th to Sunday, November 12th. You will be able to get to it by going to www.aethercon.com. Again, AetherCon is spelled AETHERCON. If you go on the day, Justin will have put up this really groovy front page thing that will show you okay, hey, if you want to go to the Wandering Toad and check out the Speed Paint duels, you just go there. And if you want to go see Q&As, you go there. If you want to play games, you go here. And it's really cool, actually. It's a very, very simple interface to go with. Again, new this year, Justin touched on this, the hotspot ads, where people who are in the vendors hall can feature their products. They will be appearing on the banner in the top right-hand corner of every page. And cool. You can watch them flip through, or you can click through at your own rate.
Last year, I was busy, running things at the convention, but there towards the end, I actually had the opportunity to go and look through some of the booths and shop fronts. And there were a lot of vendors doing some really great convention sales on products that I wanted. So I took the opportunity and cashed in there. There are some amazing deals that the vendors put in there.
We do this 2 weeks before Black Friday every year. And we do stress with the people who do come into the vendors hall that this will be a good time to do that sneak peek of that sale you're doing on Black Friday. Here, you can get into these 3 days, but if not, then you've got to wait.
That's awesome. It's amazing that there's even a vendor hall, just like there would be at any other convention.
I should correct myself. I keep saying it's a vendor's hall. Where you buy everything is in Bobblebrook's Bazaar. Okay. The vendor's hall is where you list all the vendors that are in there.
Sure.
Bobblebrook's Bazaar has the shops for all of the people in the vendor's hall, all of the miniature companies taking part in Cleric Fighter Wizard Rogue, the miniature painting tourney, all of the artists who are doing wallpapers. So last year that was 55. This year, we're hoping it'll be more.
Wow. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a blast this year. I wish you gentlemen lots of luck, and hopefully we'll see you online. And if people want to find you, and not just the things about AetherCon, but all the wonderful things you are doing, where can they go? This is the time to shout out your websites, your Twitter handles, all that good stuff. So, Stephen, let's start with you.
My website is AetherCon.
That's right. This is your baby, right?
That's what it is. AetherCon is also on Twitter. AetherCon is on Facebook. AetherCon is on Pinterest. If you want to find me, that's where you'll find me. Or also, I also have my own page on Google Plus, and I also have my own page on Facebook. I tend to hang on Facebook a whole heck of a lot more. So, if you want to talk to me, that's probably the best place to go find me.
We'll put a link to your Facebook profile in the show notes for this episode over at don'tsplitthepodcastnetwork.com. How about you, Justin? Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can check out my professional blog. It's at pathtoadventure.com. And I kind of post everything that I'm working on there. So you can check into new projects and new fun stuff that I'm working on. Just stop by.
Excellent. And where can people find you, Chris?
Well, I do have an art site, but I update it so seldom that the best place to really keep up with my work would be on Facebook at The Art of Chris Malidore.
One thing I got to add is Chris does this online paintery thing. I've been there a couple of times.
I'll hook up a camera and sort of draw from my table. I'm primarily, even though I do a lot of gaming illustration with digital work, I'm trying to work traditionally as well. A lot of gaming companies have little interest in highly rendered pencil work. It doesn't publish as well, so I'll stream that live for people, and it's a fun process because it's not done as much now in this current digital age.
If you're into learning how to be an artist, this is no bad thing to be looking into.
It's really fun because we're now in a time where we have so much access to this information as artists. You go back about a decade, it was much harder to find. It would have been very useful for me. But, now we have all these artists offering so many learning tools. I work a little bit different from others, so I just hope other people can sort of take in some information that might help them on their path as well.
I also got just one last shot at Justin with the big book of maps. I think this is the coolest thing on planet Earth, because I do believe there's a lot of GMs out there who say, I can draw a map on a piece of paper and throw it on a table, and I'm fine with that. But it's all this technical stuff. I don't know how to make a map that I can put into Roll20. And this big book of maps by Justin is exactly what is needed. It's just like a huge piece of why I can't GM online. It's just, okay, it's no longer there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Stephen. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on Tabletop Apple today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, ditto.
Thanks to the guys from AetherCon for coming on. This was a set of awesome discussions, and I am super happy to bring it to you. And I'd love to bring it to even more people, and you can help me do that by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. Super easy. If you don't have an iTunes account, it's still super helpful to go create one and leave us a 5-star review. It helps other people find the show, helps us grow, helps you get more of what you love as well, because we know people out there love us. And as an added incentive, I am giving a 5-star review shout out and a read on iTunes verbatim. Make me say anything you want here on air. You'll get one per episode. Today's 5-star review comes from someone who has an amazing iTunes account. Their name is GM the DM. And GM the DM says, "Wonderful. Follow James and the crew from The Tome Show, absolutely loving it. Always great guests, outstanding topics, and otherwise unobtainable insight into the industry as a whole. More than anything else, I appreciate the professionalism that the show conducts themselves in and love their dedication to staying positive and upbeat. Well, GM the DM, thank you so much. This 5-star review means a ton to me, as does the support of all of you listeners out there. So go ahead, go leave us a 5-star review. And if you want to support the show financially, there's a way to do it that actually doesn't cost you anything extra. Before you shop on DriveThruRPG or on Amazon.com, just go to Don't Split the Podcast Network first, click on the banners on the left, and then shop as you normally would. In fact, bookmark it once you get there so that you don't have to go to our website again and click on those banners. Then it'll be super easy and you'll be supporting us. It is huge, throws a few cents on the dollars of your sales our way to help support the show, and it literally costs you nothing extra. So thank you so much to everybody who has been doing that. Please continue to do it. It is a huge help. There's a couple costs in this show. We pay for the site. We pay for Spreaker, which hosts this. We've got equipment and stuff. So it is a huge, huge boon. And every cent that comes our way from those goes directly to supporting the show. Tabletop Babble is a show on the Don't Split the Podcast Network, thanks to Rudy Basso for founding it with me. Our theme music, which you're listening to right now, was provided by Battle Bards. Remember that RPGs are like sex. As long as everybody's having fun, you're doing it right.